Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today, my guest is Tommy Edwards. First, a few announcements. We're still fundraising for our studio move and for production of the next film, Doorways of Perception. Right now, any donation of $100 or more, and you're going to get a guest spot on Forbidden Knowledge News. You'll get copies of both films. You'll get a PDF of A Warning from History, and you'll get your name in the credits of the upcoming film. Great ways to help support Forbidden Knowledge News. Watch the film, The Forbidden Documentary, Occult Louisiana, available now on Tubi and other streaming platforms. You can also get a premium membership at Rokfin.com/FKN Plus. You'll get access to all our premium content and all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. You can also download our episodes directly through Spreaker, which is our podcast provider. That's always free to you. Finally, we are booking guests for June. If you have suggestions or you would like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today, I want to welcome Tommy Edwards. He is a former consensus All-American running back, NCAA national scoring leader for 6 weeks during the '93 season as a freshman at Virginia Tech. He began experiencing what he had come to understand as alien abductions and military abductions in the summer of 1994. Tommy, welcome. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I am excellent. It's great to have you on. I am super stoked to get into your experiences and your story, which is incredible. It sounds like they are taken from Hollywood science fiction, from CIA handlers to military and extraterrestrial abductions and much more. This is going to be great. We've got lots to get to. And as usual, we're going to let the audience decide how they feel about everything, and we're just going to let you tell us your story. I'll have a few questions as well. Before we get into anything, let's just get a basic background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up in a small town in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and was an All-American athlete at a high school, and then set some records at Virginia Tech as a running back. And I led the nation scoring there as a freshman, and the whole NCAA and some different things, and then started having these experiences the summer before my last season at Virginia Tech that I played there, where I felt like I was being abducted by aliens, more recently I've heard the term MyLab, yeah. That's kind of how things started, and then turns out that there's stuff going on before that in my life that I just had no memory of.
Right on. Well, we're going to get to your experiences in a second. I want to hear all about that. You used to also play with some pretty popular rock musicians, is that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a musician, singer-songwriter, and I ran a band called APB for about 2 years. Artemis Powell band. He was the drummer for Leonard Skinner for like from 71 to 93 or 73 to 91. And then I worked with him in the 2010, 2012 time period. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear about your experiences with as much detail as you can remember, starting with the first that you can remember.
First thing that I can remember, I was laying in bed, a girlfriend over the summer between the '93 season and the '94 season. I was living off campus in a house with some of my teammates, and I just kind of was laying in bed, and next thing I know, I'm like, I feel this electric surge through my body. And I can't move. And I can see that there's something standing above me. I couldn't tell what it was. It just seemed it was dark. But it's like I took every ounce of my energy that I could to like move my hand over, just to crawl over, pull my hand over with my fingers until it touched the girl I was dating there. It's almost like that grounded me out, like grounded out whatever it was that was like the electric current that felt like it was flowing through my body. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of just woke up and gasped for air, and there wasn't anything there. But it was like way later in the morning, like I guess middle of the night, a few hours had passed, and then the next time it happened, I was by myself, and it just seemed to be this. It's kind of the same thing. I felt this zap of electricity through my body, and then it was stronger the second time, and then I blacked out almost right away. And then throughout my life, following that, like I would have kind of periodic, like reoccurrences of a similar thing. But it also started me into like this existential crisis kind of, where I'm trying to find out what the hell that was, because I didn't have any context for it. It wasn't until like maybe a year and a half later, or I was getting ready to come home from that transferred to Boise State at this point, but I was getting ready to come home for Christmas, and I was at a friend's house, and he opened a drawer looking for a CD that he had borrowed to get back, and there was a book called Communion. It was Whitley Strieber, mm-hmm. And it was the cover like I said, let me borrow that, and I wasn't really a reader, like I dyslexic growing up, had a difficult time like learning to read or concentrating, on anything other than like I read comic books, and then like got into some other shit like high school, like Stephen King and some stuff like that. But it wasn't like I wasn't like gonna just pick up a book and read it for pleasure too often.
Yeah.
Until this book, until that book, and it got my attention, and I just looked the cover, the gray alien just got my attention, and I felt like I'd seen that before, and I had been drawing that like quite often leading up to him opening the drawer. It wasn't really, I don't know, it just drew me, and so I borrowed the book and leaving it on the plane, and like while I was in Virginia, I ordered another copy and went to the library and checked it out from the library to finish it, and got the second one, and was just like so many things in the book seemed in alignment with the things that were happening with me, that I went on to, I guess, read his next couple books as they came out, and that turned me on to like Bud Hopkins, some other shit too. But initially, it was like spiritual stuff that I had looked into like through different forms of different world religions and stuff. And one of the things that I had found was it was like moving into like almost like astral travel, mm-hmm. And so like when those things would happen, like I would try to not show any fear towards it, and then eventually, like in the last several years, I've been, anytime it's happened, I've been like awake and like conscious. And at one point, I guess maybe like 5 years ago, the first time that I was like fully awake, I was laying in bed watching TV, and like that, the surge of electricity came through my body, and then I was able to like compose myself. I was like, okay, and I reached over and just turned the TV off, so it was totally black in the room with the exception of the light coming in through the kitchen, and I could see movement going back and forth in front of the light. It's like almost like taking a glass of water and running it back and forth over the crack of the door. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the movie Predator. Like, remember how he had that camo that would reflect what was behind him forward? Yeah, it was like that, like the cloaking material that they make now.
Yeah,
it's kind of what it seemed like, and I could see three entities moving back and forth, back for the bed, and like when it was done, and I sensed that they were gone, and the door didn't open or close or anything. They were just there, and they weren't there. That I was able to I turned the TV back on, and like the end credits for the show, that the started credits were coming on when I turned it off, the end credits when I turned it back on. It was like maybe 20 minutes. And then I guess like 2001, I woke up with the electric surge and had like this. It was like felt like it was a blue LED or something about this far away from my eye, and those times that time I just woke up to it, and then like no memory of what happened after that. But there's been lots of other things.
Now, I'm looking at your talking points here. You said in 1996 you witnessed a wormhole open and some sort of being came through.
Yeah, I can only make assumption that the thing that we saw after we saw the wormhole thing open had come through it, because it was really just an odd circumstance and scenario. Like, two of my buddies that I played ball with at Tech came over on Memorial Day to where I was living, like 15 miles away from Virginia Tech. And we went for a walk, and we're going to go for a hike down in this little nature area. It's a nature preserve now. In the 70s, they had built some trails and stuff in this little valley that was kind of like in between the two parts of the little town I grew up in. It was actually division, like a demarcation point for the two up until it merged. And then they built a land bridge over part of it because where Main Street is, to replace an old bridge, and to accommodate the creek that runs through there out to the river. They built a tunnel for it, and it was something built by the CCC, like the Conservation Corps during the Depression. That was part of the New Deal. They did all these engineering, built all these things like the national parks and things like that. But so this was built in 1933, and as we got close to the mouth of the opening of the tunnel, we started hearing what sounded like just hand drums, coming through the tunnel. And they had often had powwows. There's the city park on the other side of the tunnel there, on the other side where that flows out next to the river on the river plain. And they have powwows regularly. So we think about maybe going over there, and you can walk through the tunnel on a pipe, like a water main that runs through it, and that's up above the water level of the creek. And as we were walking through, about halfway through, I stopped and started singing a song that I'd written, just kind of a cappella, just because of the echo in there,
Mm-hmm.
And hung out for a minute, and then went ahead and walked on down, like we were going out the other side. And as we approached the other, it got louder as we went through the thing, until you got to where you stepped out of the tunnel into onto the park side. And as soon as you stepped out, there wasn't any drums or anything. It was just like birds chirping, and like an occasional car would drive by.
Whoa.
Which was weird as shit.
Yeah.
And then you step back in the tunnel and you could hear it again. And it didn't seem to be some type of auditory effect or anything like that, from the tunnel or whatever. So as we started walking back through, by the time we got back to like the center where we'd stopped the first time, where I sang, it was like the drums had dissipated. We couldn't hear them at all anymore. But there was a big ass hole in the ground where the creek was. It was like, and it was just like a big whirlpool that just dropped into blackness. And the creek's this deep. It's like 6 inches deep. It's not very significant flow of water. But this thing had opened up, and the time that we walked past it, come back, and we stood there and checked it out for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, just kind of in awe, I guess. And then finally headed back over to the nature preserve. And when we got out, like I started talking about how it seemed like like the like the world and reality, and just our reality is like a construct of just different combinations of frequency, wavelength, and amplitude, and how everything's just it's a big algorithmic expression of geometry. You know, it's like Mandelbrot set, like it's 4 dimension that we live in.
Right.
And suddenly this weird kind of like chirping started coming from over here from this tree. What looked like a tree, didn't have really many leaves on it, and it didn't have any like this sound like a cardinal like chirping, but it had like this weird kind of reverby kind of vibe on it. And whenever trying to see what this bird was, it was really loud, and there wasn't anything in the tree at all. You know, there wasn't anything anywhere around it, and it kept chirping. That was like another weird thing that was like three. You know, as a trifecta right there. And so we decided that we were going to leave. And as we were walking out to leave, had to kind of walk away from like upstream, basically, and then come up a road into a parking lot that had been locked. You know, primarily they were only using that little valley down there, and those nature preserve now, like as a place to dump concrete and shit. Like just for the city. And this was like being a holiday, there wasn't anything like that going on. But suddenly, where there had been no vehicles, there was this car parked inside the parking lot, and just kind of at a weird angle. It's like it had just appeared because everything was still locked, and it had out-of-state plates. It had West Virginia plates, and the windows on the thing were like opaque black, like you couldn't see in them at all. Like when we walked up and like looked at it and tried to check it out, and like the door handle, like it didn't move at all. You know how like door handle like it'll jiggle a little bit. It was like it was welded to the thing. And then I kind of walked over and just sat down, and like I said, I'd been reading all these different kind of esoteric like spiritual books and different things, and I had started practicing like some meditation. And so I sat down, started doing some meditative breathing, and just kind of checking this thing out and trying to, you know, process all the shit that was going on. And my buddy walked around to the other side of the car, and all of a sudden it rippled like water, and like all of the the features that made it look like a car, the color, the different materials, the texture, the form of it, all that sort of dissipated, and it just kind of the wheels sucked up into it, and it was this like amorphous, like floating the size of a car, but like Mercury, like a Terminator 2, you know, when the T2 would, yeah, it was like that, like liquid mirror. It's kind of what it looked like, and it just kind of flowed there for, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes. I sat there checking this thing out, kind of just in awe, and then it's like the wheels dropped back down out of the thing, and it retook the shape and form of the car there, and I got up, walked off. My buddies followed me. Nobody said anything. We walked like 3 blocks back to my house, 4 blocks back to my house, and they got in the car, waved, and left. And we didn't talk about it again until I ran into a party like month and a half later, and we had all witnessed the same thing. It was like the craziest shit I'd ever seen in my life. I mean, like more so than any of the like waking up and not being able to move shit. Like this was like, it was like it shook my foundation.
Yeah.
You know,
you eventually in around 2020 you were approached by someone that claimed to be in a 3-letter agency that revealed some things to you. Now, before that, between the years of 1996 until 2020, what kind of profound experiences have you had, if any?
well, see, I've lost time a few times, like seen some UFOs, like in 2013, the Wednesday before Easter. I was driving back from Nashville. I had a young man that I worked with who has Asperger's disorder. Asperger, I was mentoring him, like teaching him life skills and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We were driving back from Nashville, and we were coming up Interstate 81, is from 40 to 81, back to where we live. And I don't know, the time we left Nashville, we should have been home about 12, maybe 12:30 max. But as we're driving, all of a sudden see like we're kind of near like a regional airport, so I wasn't sure when I first saw the light if it was like just like a Cessna or something, or a helicopter. But it was just, but it was it seemed to be stationary, and the closer we got to it, it it just got brighter, and looked like it was maybe 20 feet off the ground. And then it's like we drove under the thing, and then it shined directly into the van or into the truck, and then it seemed to move with us forward at the same speed that we were moving. And I look over to the young man that I was working with and said, "Hey, man, do you hear anything?" And he says, "No." I said, "Do you hear a helicopter?" He's like, "No."
Oh shit!
And he remembers seeing some stuff outside of the truck as we were moving. And actually, I interviewed him about it maybe 2 years ago, what he remembered about it. But and then like next thing I know, I'm just driving, and nothing seemed like nothing had changed. It seemed like all of a sudden there was a light, and then that was gone, and it seemed to have lasted for like maybe a minute or two. But when we got back to drop him off, like I was going to stop at somewhere to get gas, and everything was closed. When these things close at like midnight, typically, something a little after, and like McDonald's was closed. Everything that stayed open late was the one that wasn't open. And then we got back in. It was like about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh wow!
So there was this couple hours of missing time, because we were still about an hour and a half from home when that happened. That was down near Adkins, or no, it's down near Abingdon, Virginia, I guess, between Abingdon and Marion, which is way out near Bristol. It's kind of where Tennessee and Virginia meet. But yeah, that was profound. I had something else like that happen in '99 when I was driving from my hometown to South Carolina to Myrtle Beach, bringing a truckload of stuff for a home show that we were taking part in for our family's business. And I was meeting my dad down there, and they were expecting me at like 10 o'clock, and I didn't get down there till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Kind of same thing. I was going down, I think Route 220 down through North Carolina, and where it comes to like two lane section, kind of the same thing. It looked like there was something. I thought it was like maybe a. So I remember there at some point there had been like somewhere on that road there's like two basketball size like colored things that are strung with some type of cable over the road that to give indication of something like I don't know if there's an airport right there too, or if it's some sort of clearance thing for the vehicles. But it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so clearance didn't really make sense. But I noticed something about the size of a basketball glowing, and kind of the same thing. When I got to it, it seemed like it suddenly started traveling at the same rate of speed that I was. And then there was like that long period of time where I can't account for what happened. I mean, I was 5 hours late getting where I was going. And
During this time period, do you have any memories of interacting with non-human intelligences?
yeah, like right at shortly after the experience with the vortex, like wormhole thing, um, I I was having a lot of anxiety, just in general, and that's kind of what led me to leaving, like playing football in college. And this kind of seemed to, I'm not sure if this is what really, like all the shit, like really like set it off, but like it put it into overdrive. And so I was dealing with all the day to day stuff from that, and it built to a place where I always had trouble sleeping, and just to relax my body as I was trying to sleep. So I was doing, like I said, I learned these meditative breathing techniques and stuff. And one night I was breathing long, slow breaths, and I was visualizing the different the colors associated with the like associated chakras in the body, the energy, um, yeah, the vortices of the energy for the body. And as I did this breathing, I went up through the chain from the root chakra all the way up through the crown, and I shot out of my body and like astral traveled, and was all of a sudden I was in this like floating in total like darkness, and like like a thought, but it sounded like I was saying it out loud. I said, "Where am I?" And this thundering like low voice goes, "The Akashic Record." Now that was the first like thing where like something answered me, and like there's something that happened that I was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, I knew the concept, but like had no idea like what that meant. And even then, it was like, "That's cool. Now what?" Like what the fuck is this? But it was that was another one of those things. Like it was like I was laying there, and then it was like the feeling of movement on my face and like on my body, just the feeling of like wind, and then it was almost like when you see like Star Trek when they see the stars and then they turn into streaks.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, and then it was like, uh, and then that was just in the blackness, and there's another time that happened when I was in Manhattan visiting a cousin of mine. I laid down to like take a nap, and immediately just the sensation of movement, and right into the thing, right into that movement, or right into that space, I guess, or void of space. It's often called. There's those things. I met a dude, or again, look, I guess it was a dude. Uh, in I got arrested in Kentucky for possession of pot, like that same summer,
Mm-hmm.
and like it was a little bit of pot in a bowl. I was smoking to try to help sleep, typically, and I mean I was a stoner too, but like Kentucky had a zero tolerance
Yeah.
um, on marijuana, so they arrested me and like took me to jail, and I was there for a couple days, and when they finally put me into like population, which was I wasn't there for long, um, it was very overcrowded, mostly like country boys that came down from like the hills into town. It was a college town, and would get too drunk and they get drunk in public, and after the fourth or fifth one they decided to keep them for a weekend or two. And so but it was overcrowded, and like eventually like the lights were turned off. It was probably 200% the capacity in this little pod or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And as lights came down, conversation turned to weird shit. And then eventually UFOs and aliens. And from the other corner of the pod, this guy was back and forth with me, and he ends up bringing his fucking sleeper roll and fucking everything over next to me to have a conversation. And I had just been reading this book called is "Nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly how things are" by Bob Frizzell.
Mm-hmm.
And he claims that Frizzell was his neighbor there in Kentucky, and and then went on to start telling me about all this crazy shit about about running cocaine for I guess 3-letter agency
Mm-hmm.
during the Iran Contra, and so they utilized these things. They called them Yayo wagons, and they were like essentially like a Suburban with diesel engines that they were running jet fuel through, cooling it with liquid nitrogen. And that's not. I don't know if this is just what the guy told me, and that they needed that type of power to move these. Because he said they were like armored vehicles, and just talk about driving the Diego wagons through the jungle and of Central America or wherever they would put the stuff on fishing trawlers, I guess, and then they would take that to the oil rigs and transfer them over in like frozen shrimp. And it'd be these kilos of cocaine frozen up in bundles of shrimp, and then the Roughnecks would take it over when they go back into the States. So there wasn't any customs because they hadn't gone off out of the country officially. But he had this plastic peanut butter like thing, peanut butter would come in, and he opened it up and it was just full of cash, like hundreds and fifties. I'm like, he's like, you need to borrow some money to get out? I'm like, I got somebody coming, but it was weird as shit. And then as we're talking, like slow light, it's like this guy's almost like the car thing. It almost seemed like the way he looked, that was like a cloaking thing, and then it would like glitch, and it looked like kind of reptilian, but like with like feathers, like almost like hairy kind of like wispy feather things coming out of the I guess scales, and that went on for maybe 15 minutes. And eventually he goes, "Are you okay?" I know I hadn't been gawking at him because it was, wasn't like I could walk off. It was locked in this guy, and so that was pretty profound. Like, I mean, the whole experience getting arrested. That was the fucking.
How did that encounter with the gentleman end?
Well, I don't know, but they would talk all night, and then like early that next morning, somebody was there to pick me up.
Oh, right on.
So like it ended kind of weird, it was just it was all weird altogether, and like he didn't acknowledge that he wasn't human, but he said a lot of like really just crazy shit and tied to things that within the ufology community and things that were just like.
Now tell us about tell us about some of your more recent experiences, starting with the gang stalking in 2017, and it ultimately led to an encounter with a 3-letter agent. So tell us about everything that happened in more recent years.
Oh, I mean, there was encounters with multiple 3-letter agencies.
Oh, well, tell us about it. Yeah,
well, having played football, and like when I started having real bad anxiety and depression when I was in college, about the same time this other shit was going on. I was taking a lot of hits and delivering a bunch, and I was on the ESPN hits of the year, like 2 years in a row, and was the ESPN hit of the year in '95. So rattled my brain a few times, and it wasn't until like the discovery of CTE and kind of the associated symptoms that are typically associated with that and development of degenerative brain disease, that I started to better understand like what I was dealing with the depression, because antidepressants just made me worse. And I took some anti-anxiety stuff, but didn't seem to like really work for me other than just making me this drowsy. And like had really severe reactions to the antidepressants. And so to find out that it was from brain damage, I started advocating and speaking up for like CTE awareness. And I'd already run a nonprofit organization that started for like 8 years for mental health awareness following the shootings at Virginia Tech. And it started in 2007. So then 2008, I got the nonprofit rolling, the Heart of Virginia Foundation and Music for Mental Health Awareness. And I had pretty good support in that, doing that. And then, but when I started advocating and talking about CTE, I started getting wellness checks anytime I would post about it, like on Facebook. And like the police would show up at my house the next morning, to check on me, which they had never done once when I was talking about mental health and he's pretty provocative, like I don't know, like performance art and theater, and use provocative messaging as a way to like make people think. We had one of our goals was stigma reduction for mental illness, and so all of a sudden this seemed kind of odd and out of the blue, and then some things happened, and I recognized it as a attempt to try to silence me from talking about those things, and when I did that, there was like the local police in my hometown. First of all, a dispatcher called and told me to take the post down off social media, like 15 minutes after I posted it, just making me think, hey, somebody is watching my shit within the local structure there. And so after it had been established that I wasn't breaking any laws and what I was doing was within my civil rights, and I asked them to fuck off. And the next morning, they asked me if I'm home. I said no, I was out of town, and I was out of town. But the next morning, I get a phone call from police there at my house. They've entered my house without a warrant. They said that they when they got there, the door was standing ajar, and like literally like 5 minutes before they called me, like my cousin called me, and he had just been at my house and fed my dogs and locked everything up, made sure everything was secure. So, so they made up a wellness check to come check on me, and then kicked the door in to say that it was standing open when they got there, and that by law they're supposed to go through and sweep the house to make sure that no one's hurt or nothing. So I got my house is a little tiny, like 3 or 4 rooms, and so about 20 minutes into this conversation, I'm like, "You guys done sweeping my house to figure out that I'm not dead as you're talking to me for 45 minutes?" And they were thoroughly searching the house, went through everything, left every drawer, everything open. I mean, so thoroughly that they found like the combination to my safe and opened it. And then they were pinging my phone to try to figure out where I was. And then they contacted the authorities there in New Jersey, where I was, in Bergen County, which is also kind of where Newark is. They requested a SWAT team be dispatched to apprehend me, saying that I was armed, homicidal, most likely headed for a school. Like 2 weeks after the Parkland shootings. And like the nonprofit that I started was mental health awareness, stigma reduction as a way to prevent school shootings. Man. That was our mission statement.
That's crazy.
So I was like a double slap in the face. But after being on the phone for 45 minutes with them, finally, so you guys good? Can I hop off here now? My ex and I were going to brunch for her birthday, and that's why I was up there in New Jersey, up to visit this chick, and so we're having brunch at a diner in the next county over. She gets 2 text messages saying that to shelter in place, one from her neighbor, one from her landlord, because there was a SWAT team going in across the street. And then a detective calls her, asking her if she knows where I am. So she hands me the phone. This guy tells me that my vehicle had been involved in a hit and run, and I needed to come fill some paperwork out. And I'm like, okay, we'll be right there. Get off the phone. I'm like, huh, not going anywhere near that shit. And then we went on into the city for the day. That's what we planned to do in New York, and hung out. And then on the way back in to town, we stopped at the police station just to, you know, sign whatever they needed me to sign for the hit and run. And the guy that was on duty was like, "Man, you must have pissed somebody off bad." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "Somebody wanted to try to get you killed." And when they timed out, like, after 6 hours of sheltering like schools and businesses and residents in place there, they finally called it off, and they called the authorities in my hometown to find out more information about this person that they needed to be so concerned about. What if I had killed somebody, or I had if I had escaped, it was a convict or something. And they said it was for a wellness check, one of these magic in-house wellness checks. So it concerned my girlfriend so much that she ended up following me back to Virginia to confront the police to make sure that they understood that, because it was like an attempt on my life. I mean, the heightened kind of tensions in the country, like right after the Parkland shootings. Yeah. So, but it did a couple $1,000s worth of damage to the van, and had $4,300 in cash missing that I had in like a hidden place in the van that I had brought to put down on a piece of property to move there. So that shortly after that, things started to get weirder and weirder. Like that landed me on the terrorist watch list.
Oh shit!
And yeah, so
man,
and this had all started from a parent going into the school board in my hometown, demanding that they deny me, or that they ban me from school property, which is a violation of my civil rights. And I'd spoken in hundreds of schools over the years with a nonprofit, and so it just seemed absurd. But they sent me a no trespass thing, kind of indefinite, and which they finally reinstated like last year. Except they haven't told me who the person was. I was told that a parent went in and demanded that they ban me from property, or that parent would take their child elsewhere to have them educate them, which they have the right to take their child anywhere they want to. But so I'm trying to figure out who it was, so I could face my accuser and figure out what political motivation they had to do so. And like, I'm pretty sure it's somebody that has something to do with Virginia Tech, where I played football. But that got me watch listed, which is kind of it's a fucked up deal. And the whole targeting program is it's insidious. It's built off of like East German Stasi techniques to use citizen spies. And we in the United States, we have InfoGuard and like citizen like neighborhood watch groups, kind of that they co-op into these things. And it's it's pretty shitty when you get people that and keeping tabs on you 24/7, and it's illegal. And it's pre-crime what they're trying to do. It's like pre-crime, and I haven't committed any crime. All I'm trying to do is something positive. So I got listed as a whistleblower for talking about CTE. I kind of became one of the I was the only like actual football player at the time that was talking about living with CTE. I'd had some brain scans done, and I'd had a doctor that had clinically diagnosed me with CTE, which officially you can't be diagnosed until after you're dead, and they slice your brain up, but which is ridiculous. I mean, they should be able to do a clinical diagnosis, especially with imagery. So I got kind of started getting trolled on Twitter, and it was like a coordinated campaign to like discredit me, and defame me, it's like defamation campaign, smear campaign that goes on, and then it also happens around you in your physical environment with people that you're around. Um, they they try to sully your reputation, basically. They try to discredit you. And I was hospitalized, and they went. Well, that's what led to the swatting. That's when I called it out as a criminal conspiracy, because they a school resource officer went to my sister and coerced her to go to have me ECO'd, which is like they have me evaluated, like psychologically, and then the process is that goes on, and then if the mental health assessor determines that you need more oversight, they can put you on a 72-hour hold, which they did, but like the school resource officer coerced my sister with her job. My sister was a principal at one of the schools in the school system, and she felt obligated as a way to save her career, or to not harm her career. And so then she had to go to they had to have her do it, somebody from the family. So she goes to a magistrate, and the magistrate supervisor was one of my high school football coaches. He supervised all the magistrates Southwest Virginia, like 20 counties or something like that. And his wife was the deputy chief of police at the time. She was directly over the school resource officer. And after all this happened, I contacted her trying to get in touch with the chief of police, but I was put in touch with her, and I asked her about how they had derived at and received what they had considered evidence to have me evaluated. And she said that she didn't have access to it because we weren't friends on Facebook, which was a fucking ridiculous answer. So then I asked her if her subordinates had greater access to files and evidence than she did, and if not, I could just drive there, because it's only like 2 miles away, and we'd sit down and she could go over whatever it was with me, and we'd have a conversation. And she gave me some bullshit excuse, and I said, this is the second time in a year I'm gonna have to contact the FBI to investigate somebody that's trying to that means me that caused me harm. And she hung up on me, which, as a public servant, that seems kind of odd. I called back thinking that maybe my call dropped, like it did with my phone died just a little while ago. Same voice answered. I explained who I was and thought that maybe my call had dropped the call. Phone dropped the call, and they hung up again. So it was the deputy chief that had answered the phone. And after that, things got weirder and weirder. There was ongoing this shit, like disappearing, moving around my house outside, like loud noises, like somebody, like it sounded like somebody came up and slapped the glass doors on my sun porch. One night, like 3 o'clock in the morning, threw something at the house, which it sits way back off the road, so they have to come up close to the house to do so.
Man.
And then like that just kind of kept happening. And then I had moved to Nashville in 2019 just because I was afraid for my life in my hometown. I'd had the swatting thing that was initiated by folks from my hometown, and this was confirmed to me when I contacted the head of the SWAT commander in New Jersey about 2 weeks after all that happened. And that's when it really sat in, and I didn't sleep for like a week. And then like my neighbor jumped off a bridge.
Whoa.
There's a whole bunch of like crazy shit right together there. And then like I went to establish a new general physician so that I get CAT scans for my concussion attorneys that were suing me. And as I'm leaving, the doctor's like, "Hey, when was the last time you had a tetanus shot?" And said it'd been a while, so I agreed to one. And they gave me what's called a Tdap, and the pertussis in it, apparently, I guess, caused my brain to swell up rapidly because I have encephalopathy. And like 2 hours after I left the doctor's, I was home. I made something to eat. I got to go get something to drink, and I woke up like 3 days later, face down, laying across my bed, crossways, and was in a delirium for like the next 10 days.
Man.
And then, like with one Google search, when I finally had like enough composure to be able to sit down and like try to logically figure this shit out, I Googled Tdap and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and one of the first things that pops up is anybody with encephalopathy is risk of potential death from pertussis. It's whooping cough. I wasn't really a candidate for that shit anyway.
Yeah.
That's for kids and old people.
That's crazy.
Then that triggered Parkinsonism, and I like it fucked up like the part of my brain that was like with my balance and stuff, and haven't been like I was running, all American running back, and I was a professional skateboarder like in my late 20s. So like I always had great balance, and after that I had to use a cane for a while. I mean, over a year, on and off, and just because it fucked with the equilibrium, I get vertigo, and so I went to the doctor about getting images from my concussion doctors, and wound up with almost catastrophic brain injury from the visit, which seemed a little too like convenient. And it was a new doctor I'd never been to. It was an odd thing, and because I found it in one Google search, and I sat and talked to him for 45 minutes about not just like treating symptoms with pharmacology, try to address the underlying reason, and then that he should have known that, or have given me the option of just the tetanus shot without the other shit in it. Man. So I went up in Nashville for a better part of a year. While I was working in downtown Nashville one night, this guy's like staring at me the whole night. I was working the door, and he comes up to the door with a drink in his hand, and it actually he's going to walk outside, and he like leans forward like that, and he goes, "No, I'm not going outside." It was kind of like he was, fucking with me. And then, and he's like, "Yeah, no, you're just doing your job. You're just doing your job." And then he turns around and flashes FBI credentials at me, and puts them away, and I said, "Well, what's up?" He goes, "Oh, just in town doing an investigation." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, anything I should know about it? He goes, "Lots of crazy shit goes on here in Nashville."
Huh.
And then he walks away, and he keeps staring at me. Like I'm like, "The fuck's going on?" About that same time, I had published an article. It's like a 5-part series with the Goodman Project. It's a men's health magazine online, and it was about football and CTE and some of the shit that had gone down with the SWAT team and all that, and just suppression of information, and discreditation of as a way to try to silence me. It's called the political abuse of psychiatry. This is the term. It's like silencing a political dissident 101. Not a new thing,
right?
And turns out that in 2020, I met this chick who kind of interjected her way into my life, and then like after the first time we hung out, she shows back up at my house with my phone, like 2:00 in the afternoon, and I couldn't really find it. It wasn't really a big deal, and I figured it was probably somewhere I need to clean up the house a little bit. I have to figure out where it was, but the phone started working really weird after that. And when I confronted her about it, and kind of persistently confronted her about it over the course of, let's say, a week, she eventually broke down and told me that she broke cover. She told me that she was an asset of the CIA, and that she had been assigned to me as a handler.
Oh shit!
And this is 2020.
And who was this again?
And it was a chick in town that was working she had a front as a realtor. Okay. And it was that wasn't her original her given name, and she has about 25 aliases. But she I could send you some information about it and
Yeah.
pictures and stuff and some documentation, like internal communications between she and the senior security officer at the CIA talking about me
No
in an
shit.
email. And yeah, and she said when she moved back to Virginia from Arizona, there was a dossier like inch and a half thick with my name on it, waiting for her at her mom's house. And apparently, her mom was CIA and worked for the company. So, and she and this chick had since had been an asset since she was 18. So, at least 30 years, but probably 35 years. And so, over the course of the next like few weeks, I just kept asking more and more questions, and she would she would stonewall and like act like she didn't know anything, and then suddenly she'd like just tell me a bunch of shit.
Why do you think she was telling you?
She was in love with me.
I see. Okay.
And yeah, and that she had grown a conscience, essentially. And so that was just like throughout my life, I had kind of a feeling like something was amiss, And earlier that year, I met her in September. In like January of 2021, I made contact with this other woman that I was told by. I had met this guy in 2005. At least I thought I met him in 2005. That's as an adult. That's when I met him. When I lived in San Diego, and he and I became friends, became like a mentor to me, and like even when I moved back to Virginia after the shootings at Tech to start this nonprofit, he kind of guided me through the process of the nonprofit and just kind of he mentored me, And he was he had something that he had been in the CIA. He was part of the Phoenix 2 operations in Vietnam, and he got wounded and written when he was in Walter Reed. He wrote the DoD to see if they would commission him to study the human potential movement, which turned into the remote viewing programs. And like the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, like the Jeff, the dude, what's his name? Jeff Bridges. His character was based on my friend Daryl, and Daryl died in like 2016 maybe. But before he died, he told me that I would meet someone that would take his place as my guide and protector. And like he was a remote viewer and very strong like psychic abilities. And in 2020, like an old friend had called, and somehow she brought up her cousin was with her, and the cousin was a seer. And like for some reason, this I saw the one in my mind's eye, I just got like an image, and then I asked her if and Daryl had told me that I would know this person because of it'd be a woman, and the fact that they had this collection of Kachina dolls, like the Zuni like characters, like the spirit dolls, like little different like the Thunder God and different things. Yeah. And for some reason it just popped in my head. I'm like, does she have a collection of Kachina dolls? And my friend's like, yeah, like a creepy big collection of them, So when we hang up the phone, her cousin asked her, does he have Parkinson's? And then Jody told me that when she called me like the next day, kind of give me an update on the reason she called me the first time, was her dog had run away. She was just in crisis. She had me. I asked for her cousin's phone number. I called her that night, and we became friends. And she told me all about how Daryl had come to her in a spirit form. She's a medium, and had just shown up a couple years prior, and told her that that asked her to help me, and it turns out that she and I had been in the same program as kids. It was an offshoot of the Stargate program, and where they were recruiting and trying to find for the GATE program, where they're trying to find kids with extraordinary gifts.
Yeah.
And they filter kids through the gifted talented programs at schools.
Yes.
And I had been taken because of some learning disabilities. My parents had taken me to UVA to have me tested. And I have dyslexia and like ADHD and some other like kind of visual processing stuff. But I also had like a crazy high IQ. And it seems like the interaction started before that though.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely there was a weird conversation I had with my dad that makes me think that something significant happened about that time. But in 1980, there was a murder in my hometown, and the guy who committed the murder was the first person convicted of murder without a body in the state of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And it was odd. He had also played football at Tech and had been in the waiting room with my dad the night I was born, which is just an odd coincidence, But I met this chick that was the handler in the process of helping the sister of the murdered girl look for the remains of her sister in 2020. And they found the remains in 2021 with the help of this Dr. Armand Voss. He created a machine that would locate familial DNA through resonant frequency.
Oh wow!
He located the two Hells Angels guys on Manson Ranch. They were buried in the school bus.
Oh,
like a year before that was kind of brought him to the forefront and he worked on the Casey Anthony case, I think. But so it was a dinner after a day showing them some stuff, and where I had seen some stuff when I had been a kid, or when I was early 20s. I found some human remains on our property at the edge of a sinkhole, and we called the police, and the police threw them away. Just they said they were sending them to the crime lab. The crime lab later said that they never received anything, and I was told that it was cow bones, and I studied comparative anatomy, and I said, biology major in college, and knew that was some bullshit.
Yeah.
And it got weird, man. I ended up moving away.
So you think all of your experiences, even from the very first high strange paranormal experience you had, may be possible that you were involved with some of these projects from a very young age, and it may have been part of the experience? Or do you think that was separate, and maybe you were targeted through these projects because you were having these experiences? What do you think?
I think it's kind of well, I've been told that I was targeted because I'm a whistleblower for CTE. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what, after that 5-part thing from with the Goodman Project came out, like I literally started getting followed back and forth when I'd go to Virginia, back to Tennessee, right. I mean, but both, And then 2020 also had 2 profilers from the FBI come in and profile me in my home, under the guise of buying records that I was selling. I used to have a record store, and I was selling off inventory and stuff. So, and later the guy admitted to me an FBI profiler, and so, which it was, all kind of just, and I was asking the FBI for help because the gang stalking, and they just ignore it. There's a guy that played tech about 4 years behind me. That's the head of the field office here in Roanoke. I can't get him to return a call, which is odd, but I think that I had a presence in my life because of the early programs, and in 80, when they were had been looking for the body back then, Mind Reach had come in, from SRI, mm-hmm. Scientific, Stanford Research Institute, and they were looking for the body, kind of also probably running some cover in the press for other things that were going on, because I'm pretty sure that the murderer was actually an asset of the CIA as part of their drug smuggling, human trafficking operation. And it seemed like that the girl, she fought back, And an odd thing that her parents, her dad, also played football at Virginia Tech in the 1950s, and like one of his teammates, whose brother became a Virginia state senator, like brought the murderer, to meet the dad, to talk to him, and like before the trial and everything, like weird shit, man. Like, and it's weird to put like the ghost, like spirit stuff that happened in finding the human remains, and some of the things that happened after that just seemed like. And I found like scalp with like long hair attached to it and stuff when I went back down and dug around some more, and like some crazy shit.
Wow.
And all that evidence disappeared. Had disappeared when I came back to Virginia to help move all the stuff from that property before the folks that bought it came in and bulldozed and burned it the next day.
Oh.
And I'd taken Dr. Voss up to the property there because he might have been able to still locate something with, depending on how close it was to the surface of the ground, and where the sinkhole had been. They had raised the elevation maybe 75 feet. It was where they brought in like debris and stuff to build it up for no reason. And it seemed that they'd probably spent $1 million,
Wow.
Just raising the elevation of that and filling it in.
Now,
but he did locate human remains on the property there, but it didn't match the profile. It was just with via DNA.
Now we've got a few minutes left. Have you had any other recent experience? Is this still going on in any capacity, whether it's the paranormal or gang stalking or even other types of contacts with three-letter agencies, anything like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I had a date last night with somebody that I'm pretty sure is a potential handler. And I mean, the conversation, it always tends to run in the conversational, like, I'm going to tell you a story, and the bits and pieces of the story are going to pertain to you, and it's going to be talking about things that you need to be aware of, but not directly, and that's several of the people that have turned out to be handlers, and that since I've had awareness of it, utilize double talk, and neuro-linguistic programming, as a way to like influence you in a way. But that's all weird as shit, I've had several friends, as far as the gang stalking, all the times. It's all the time. Every time I leave the house, anytime I drive somewhere, I'm getting followed and tagged, boxed in by idiots that want to hide their face when you go by and take a picture of them, and or just look at them, and it's kind of a weird deal. Yeah, it's odd behavior. People that know they're doing something fucked up just don't want to get called out for it. And my house gets broken into on a regular basis. Things get moved around. Like it's all mind games. It's psyops. I've had that chick had poisoned me when we were together. Just when I was hanging out with her, trying as soon as I figured out what was going on, like I wanted to keep her as close as I could to find out what the fuck was going on, and to get her to answer as many questions as possible. I mean, there was a huge list of people throughout my life that I had question marks about. That it's always just seemed too weird. There's always an instant best friend, and she confirmed most of them. So it's still going on a lot. But as far as the paranormal stuff, that shit goes on all the time too. It's sometimes it's hard to decipher between.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Normal.
Do you think that the early aspects of your life, the early experiences, were connected in some way to your involvement with Stargate or Montauk or MK Ultra projects?
Yeah. I mean, apparently, the show. I was told by one of my handlers in the last couple of years that the show Stranger Things was based on the program that I was in as a kid.
Right.
And that I had opened that wormhole when I sang, just the frequency thing. I don't know how the hell it works, but I caught some other stuff on my security cameras in the last couple of years that I can send you if you want to throw them up on the site with stuff. But it's it seems like there's like this portal thing that opens and something comes through it, but you can clearly see it open. It's it's like rippling water, but vertical, and um, and then there's just weird shit, man. I got like this shapeshifter thing that we call the skinwalker, and it walks across the screen, disappears behind nothing, and then reappears, and like every step it takes, it looks like a different animal.
Man. How do you deal with this on a daily basis? Seems like you're on a constant roller coaster ride, man.
Well, I think that I think a lot of that shit was my my camera feed being fucked with. You know, some of it seems to be like, you know,
gang stalking,
manipulation,
targeting.
Yeah, just part of it, as to further discredit me, because I mean, you know, it's something weird going on, like that I can show other people. I'm like, check this shit out. Tell me what you think, and that way it's not But you know, with AI and like all the technology they have with CGI and shit, man, it wouldn't be that hard like to have whatever's moving across the screen. They're just pulling like the bitmap pieces from an earlier shot, but because the tones and stuff would change dramatically, and all of a sudden it would just be like pixelated in the shape of a person going through. You know, like that's some of the early stuff. And lots of orbs and shit. You know, which I've come to find is actually like can be the infrared representation of like microwave pulse energy.
Oh, wow.
Directing the weapons. You know. Being and that sort of hearing the shit that causes the electronic kind of cricket sound, what the people with Havana syndrome describe.
With
high pitch, like spray effect stuff. You know,
man, that is crazy.
It's all. I mean, it's ongoing like all the time. Yeah.
Damn.
Especially when I talk about it like this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, on a daily basis, how do you deal with all this stuff? You just roll with the punches and, you know, hope for the best?
Well, I mean, some days are harder than others. Like, I've tried to come to the, you know, just come to the point with myself where I try not to let it bother me. I mean, it's just anytime you go home and you discover the door to your vehicle, your your house are sitting open, you know, you locked them when you left. It's you know, that's going to put you on edge a little bit. But I paint and I write music and I make art. A lot of this started like when I was in 2017. I started working on a documentary called Brain Slosh about CTE, and they really don't want me to make that fucking movie. Let me say that. I mean, it's because that I mean, like I had 4 computers go down, like a dozen or more phones. I got Pegasus. I've got evidence of Pegasus on my phone.
Yeah.
Like
man. Incredible information, Tommy. Thank you so much for coming on. This was great, and we'll definitely have to dive back in the future. I want to hear so much more about your experiences and get your insights into it. Before you head out, is there anything out there that the audience can find out more about you?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got a I guess X space on X. It's TD Tommy 33. They're at TD Tommy 33, and then we got a Facebook and an Instagram, touchdown Tommy Edwards, and then I got a YouTube channel, which trying to think, I can't remember what it's called, like Tommy Edwards, like 02 or 78 or something like that. But
send me, when you find it, just send me message me the link and I'll put it in the description so people can find it.
Will do, man.
Awesome.
And you know, and I got my OnlyFans page, man. I got all kinds of pictures of oscillating fans and ceiling fans, and some of them fans that clip on your hat, and radiator fans, man, all kinds of fans, NASCAR fans, you know.
Right on, man. We gotta definitely check out the OnlyFans. That's awesome. Tommy, thank you so much, man. We'll definitely be doing this again. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.